Jake Mitchell was pushing his shopping cart through the Target parking lot in Oceanside, California, on that sunny Thursday afternoon. His 5-year-old daughter, Emma, bounced beside him, holding her stuffed unicorn in one hand and her father's hand in the other. The sun beat down on the palm trees surrounding the shopping center, and Jake was only thinking about getting home, putting away the groceries, and maybe watching a cartoon episode with Emma before dinner. He had just left the Navy 8 months prior. 15 years as a Navy SEAL leave marks that don't fade easily. Jake had visible scars on his arms, tattoos that told stories he would never fully share, and a way of walking that still carried that military posture even as he tried to relax in civilian life. But what weighed most heavily were the invisible scars, the ones that woke him up at 3 a.m, sweaty and with a racing heart. Emma was the reason he'd requested a discharge. After Sarah died in the car accident 2 years ago, Jake realized he couldn't spend 6 months away from his daughter on missions he couldn't tell anyone about anymore. Emma needed him, and honestly, he needed her too. "Daddy, can I have ice cream when we get home?" Emma asked, jumping up and down, making her blonde braids sway. "Of course, princess. But just one little ball, okay? Otherwise you won't want to have dinner." Emma made that face that always melted his heart, but Jake already knew the trick. "Okay, Daddy." They were about 20 meters from the car when Jake heard it. His training never completely shut off. The sound of footsteps too fast, male voices with an urgent tone, and then a woman's scream. Jake instinctively turned his head. About 10 car lengths away, near a blue van parked crookedly, occupying 2 spaces, he saw 3 men surrounding a woman. She was leaning against the side of the van, clutching her purse to her chest, and clearly frightened. One of the men, a tall guy in a gray sweatshirt, was trying to snatch her purse while the other 2 blocked any escape route. Jake's body reacted before his mind could fully process it. He stopped the shopping cart and crouched down in front of Emma. "Emma, I need you to stay here by the stroller. Don't leave this spot for anything, do you hear me?" Emma looked at him with those huge blue eyes, and Jake saw the exact moment she realized something was wrong. His daughter was too smart for her age. "What happened, Dad?" "There's a young woman over there who needs help. I'll just go there quickly and be right back. Could you hold the stroller for me?" Emma nodded, but Jake saw tears beginning to form. She pressed the unicorn against her chest, and her voice came out small and trembling. "Daddy, please help her." Jake kissed his daughter's forehead. "I'll be right back, princess. Count to 100 very slowly." He stood up and started walking toward the van. He wasn't running, but his pace was purposeful. As he approached, Jake assessed the situation with the precision of someone who had spent years training to read risk scenarios in seconds. 3 men. The one in the gray sweatshirt was the tallest, probably the leader or the most aggressive. He was in his early 30s, around 6 feet tall with strong arms. The second wore a black leather jacket and was shorter, but stocky, with the posture of someone who had been in a street fight before. The third was thin, nervous, looking around every 2 seconds, probably the lookout. The woman looked to be about 40 years old, with short brown hair, wearing office clothes and high heels. She wasn't struggling much with her purse, just trying not to fall while the guy in the sweatshirt pulled hard. "Please take the bag, just don't hurt me," she screamed, her voice breaking. Jake came within about 5 meters. "Hey." The 3 men turned to him. The one in the gray sweatshirt didn't let go of the bag, but he stopped pulling. "Get out of here." "Man, it's none of your business." Jake stopped where he was, hands loose at his sides, posture relaxed but balanced. Anyone who knew what to look for would see that he was ready to move in any direction in a fraction of a second. "Drop your bag and get out of here while you still can walk." The guy in the leather jacket stepped forward, opening his arms in an aggressive gesture. "You see we're busy here? Mind your own business before you get hurt." Jake didn't take his eyes off the guy in the hoodie, who was still the main threat. "Last chance. Drop the bag. Go away. We'll forget this ever happened." The guy in the sweatshirt finally let go of his purse strap, and the woman recoiled against the van, clutching her purse and beginning to cry softly. The 3 men were now focused on Jake. "Dude, you don't know who you're messing with," the guy in the hoodie said, taking a step toward Jake. "I have a good idea. 3 cowards who think they can scare a woman in broad daylight in a parking lot." The guy in the sweatshirt pulled something out of his pocket. A knife. The blade wasn't large, about 10 centimeters, but it was enough to be dangerous. He held the knife low, at an angle that showed he had some experience. "Now go away, hero, before things get ugly here." Jake took a deep breath. He didn't want this. He had Emma waiting for him. He had a normal life he was trying to build, but he couldn't leave that woman there at the mercy of those guys. Okay, I'll leave. Jake took a half step back and saw the guy in the hoodie relax just a little, lowering the knife about 2 centimeters. That was enough. Jake moved, 2 explosive steps forward, faster than any of the 3 had expected. His left hand gripped the wrist of the man holding the knife, twisting his arm outward and upward in a motion that locked his elbow in an impossible position. The knife fell to the asphalt with a metallic clink as Jake used the momentum to twist the man's body and place him between himself and the other 2. The guy in the leather jacket reacted first, lunging forward with his right fist in a punch aimed at Jake's head. Jake pushed the guy in the hoodie directly into the path of the punch and heard the impact as the fist struck his teammate's nose. Blood spurted. Jake was already moving again. A low kick to the side of the guy in the leather jacket's knee. Not hard enough to break it, but enough to make his legs buckle. The guy fell to his knees with a scream. The third guy, the skinny and nervous one, finally joined the fight. He'd grabbed a tire iron from somewhere and came at me with it raised above his head, ready to deliver a blow that could easily crack a skull. Jake ducked down and slipped under the arc of the movement, his shoulder hitting the center of the man's chest. He heard the air escape the man's lungs with a loud oof, and the tire iron flew off, hitting the bumper of a Honda Civic. From start to finish, the entire confrontation lasted less than 7 seconds. The 3 men were on the ground now. The one in the gray sweatshirt held his broken nose, blood trickling between his fingers. The one in the leather jacket clutched his knee, trying to breathe through the pain. The skinny one was on all fours, trying to catch his breath after Jake had taken it from his lungs. Jake picked up the knife from the ground and threw it under a nearby car, far enough away that no one would find it easily. Stay on the ground. The police should be coming soon. Jake didn't know if that was true, but it worked. The 3 of them stayed where they were. He turned to the woman, who was trembling against the van, her eyes wide. "Are you all right, ma'am? Were you hurt?" She shook her head, unable to speak, only clutching the bag to her chest as if it were a life jacket. "Okay. Do you have a cell phone? Call 911 and tell them what happened. I'll stay here until the police arrive." The woman nodded and, with trembling hands, took her cell phone out of her purse and began to dial. Jake looked back and saw Emma still standing beside the shopping cart, but no longer in the spot where he had left her. She had walked about 3 meters toward him, the unicorn still clutched to her chest, tears streaming down her face. His heart tightened. He walked quickly to her and knelt down. Hey, princess. Everything's all right now." Emma threw herself into his arms, crying on his shoulder. "I was scared, Daddy. That man had a knife." Jake hugged his daughter tightly, feeling guilt tighten his chest. He had promised himself that Emma would never see him like that, never see the violence he was capable of. And here she was, having watched it all from afar. "I know, baby. I know. But everything's okay now. The girl is safe, and so are we." The police arrived 4 minutes later. 2 cars, 4 officers. A female officer, Sergeant Rodriguez according to the name tag, took Jake's statement while 2 other officers handcuffed the 3 men and put them in different cars. "So you're an ex-military man?" Rodriguez asked, looking at Jake with that expression that police officers develop, half respect, half weariness. "Navy, 15 years. "SEAL?" Jake nodded. He didn't normally like to share this, but it seemed relevant, given what had just happened. Rodriguez jotted something down in her notepad. "Well, you probably saved this woman from something much worse than a robbery. These guys have a criminal record, known for robberies that escalated to sexual assault. The lady was lucky you were here." Jake looked over to where the woman was now, being examined by paramedics who had arrived shortly after the police. She was calmer, but still visibly shaken. "Anyone would have done the same thing," Jake said. "No, Mr. Mitchell, they wouldn't have. Most people would have taken out their cell phones and filmed, or simply walked away. You put your life at risk, especially with that knife." Rodriguez looked at Emma, who was now sitting in the back seat of Jake's car with the door open, drinking a juice box that one of the paramedics had given her. "And you did it even though you have a young daughter depending on you. That's something special." Jake didn't feel special. He felt tired, and a little embarrassed for having exposed Emma to that. It took another half hour to finish all the testimonies. The woman, whose name was Catherine Weber, came to speak with Jake before he left. "I don't know how to thank you," she said, her eyes still red but no longer crying. "Those men, I thought that..." She couldn't finish the sentence. "No need to thank me, Mrs. Weber. I'm glad you're doing well. Catherine glanced at Emma in the car, and then back at Jake. Your daughter is very lucky to have a father like you. Jake didn't know what to say, so he just nodded. Catherine squeezed his hand one last time before getting into her own car and driving away, her hands still trembling on the steering wheel. Jake got into the car, where Emma had fallen asleep in the back seat. The unicorn slumped in her lap. He carefully adjusted her seatbelt so as not to wake her, and drove home in silence, thinking about how he would explain it when she woke up and wanted to talk about what she had seen. When they got home, Jake carried Emma inside and laid her on the sofa, covering her with her favorite blanket, the one with unicorn and rainbow prints. He put away the groceries, checked his emails, and was starting to prepare dinner when he heard the doorbell ring. Jake wasn't expecting anyone. He looked through the peephole and saw a tall man, about his age, wearing a military uniform, naval, and judging by the number of stars and insignia on his uniform, he was someone important. Jake opened the door, his confusion evident on his face. "Mr. Mitchell?" the man asked. His voice was firm but friendly. "Try? My name is Michael Patterson. Rear Admiral Michael Patterson. May I come in? I promise I won't take up much of your time." Jake blinked twice, processing. A Rear Admiral at his front door. This was unexpected. Sure. Come in." Jake opened the door and the Admiral entered, glancing around the modest living room. His eyes stopped on Emma sleeping on the sofa. "Your daughter?" Patterson asked quietly. "Yes, sir. Emma. She's 5 years old." Patterson nodded and turned to Jake. "Can we talk in the backyard, maybe? So we don't wake her?" "Of course." They went out, the back door into Jake's small backyard. There was a small white plastic table with 2 chairs, a small swing he had installed for Emma, and a lawn that had needed mowing 2 weeks ago. Jake offered one of the chairs to the Admiral and sat in the other. "Mr. Mitchell, I came here because I heard about what happened today at Target." Jake felt his stomach clench. "Look, sir, I wasn't looking for trouble, Patterson raised his hand. "You're not in trouble, son. Quite the opposite." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Catherine Weber, the woman you helped today, she's my sister." The world stopped for a second. Jake didn't know what to say. "She called me 3 hours ago, still trembling, still in shock, but alive and safe thanks to you. She told me everything. The 3 men, the knife, how you handled the situation with surgical precision without killing anyone or causing permanent injuries." Patterson shook his head, and Jake saw genuine emotion in his eyes. "My sister has 2 children, Mr. Mitchell, teenagers. They still have a mother today because of you." Jake felt a lump in his throat. "I only did what anyone should do, sir." "No, you did what only someone with your training and your courage could do. And you did it even knowing that your own daughter was there. Even knowing that if something went wrong, Emma would be left without a father." Patterson paused. "I read your file." Of course he read it. Jake should have expected that. 15 years as a SEAL, 5 deployments, 3 Bronze Stars, 1 with a valuable device. You served with distinction, saved countless lives, and left because your daughter needed you. None of that is dishonorable. "It doesn't always seem that way," Jake admitted, surprised by his own honesty. Patterson leaned back in his chair. "Can I be frank with you?" "Yes, sir. The Navy needs men like you. Not necessarily back in the teams, although that door is never closed, but elsewhere. Training, consulting. There are positions on bases here in California where you could work regular hours, be home every night to put your daughter to bed, and still use everything you've learned in these 15 years to make a difference." Jake looked at the house, where Emma slept safely on the sofa. "I don't know, sir. I kinda promised myself I was done with this life. I understand. And I'm not here to pressure you, but I want you to think about something." Patterson stood up, and Jake stood up too. "Today, in a parking lot, you saw someone needing help, and you couldn't just turn your back. That's not training, son. That's who you are. You can take the man out of the Navy, but you can't take the Navy out of the man." Patterson pulled a card from his pocket and handed it to Jake. "My direct number is right there. You don't have to decide anything now. But if you change your mind, or if you just want to talk about options, give me a call." They shook hands, and Jake escorted the Admiral to the front door. Before leaving, Patterson turned around one last time. "Oh, and Mr. Mitchell, thank you for saving my sister. My family is eternally grateful." And with that, he drove away, getting into a black sedan with a driver waiting. Jake closed the door and stood there for a minute, the card weighing heavily in his hand despite being just paper. He looked at Emma, still asleep, her chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm. She woke up 15 minutes later, rubbing her eyes and stretching like a kitten. "Dad, what time is it?" "Almost dinner time, Princess. Did you have a good nap?" Emma nodded, but then her face turned serious. "Dad, about those bad men today." Jake sat down next to her on the sofa. "Do you want to talk about it? You didn't hurt them too much, did you?" Jake felt his heart clench at the innocence of her question. "No, baby. They'll be okay. I just needed to stop them from hurting that girl. Why is this what heroes do?" Jake gave a sad little laugh. "I'm no hero, Emma. I just try to do the right thing." Emma looked at him with those serious blue eyes, so like her mother's. "Mom always said you were her hero. Now I understand why." And there, in that moment, with his 5-year-old daughter looking at him with admiration and love, Jake finally understood something. He had spent 15 years thinking that making a difference meant secret missions in distant countries, operations he could never tell anyone about. But perhaps making a difference was as simple as being there when someone needed him, even if it was just in a Target parking lot on a sunny Thursday afternoon. He hugged Emma. "How about that ice cream I promised? 2 scoops instead of 1? Emma screamed with joy. And for a moment, everything was right in Jake Mitchell's world. Later that night, after Emma had gone to bed with a stomach full of spaghetti and chocolate ice cream, Jake sat on the back porch with a beer. He took out the card Admiral Patterson had given him and stared at it in the dim light of the porch lamp. Your cell phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello? Mr. Mitchell? This is Catherine Weber. I hope I'm not bothering you." "No, ma'am. How are you?" "Better. Much better." She paused. "My brother told me he went there. I hope it wasn't weird." Jake laughed. "It was a bit surreal, yes. Look, I know my brother probably offered some kind of position or opportunity. He's like that, always trying to recruit the best." Catherine hesitated. "But I called because I wanted to say something I couldn't quite say today. You didn't just save me. You gave me back to my children. My 16-year-old son, Tyler, and my 13-year-old daughter, Madison. They would have grown up without a mother if it weren't for you." Jake felt tears burning his eyes. "I'm glad you're all right, Mrs. Weber. Catherine, please, call me Catherine." He could hear her smiling through the phone. "And I know you have your own daughter to take care of, your own life to live. But if you or Emma ever need anything at all, you have my number. I owe you a debt I'll never be able to repay." They talked for a few more minutes before saying goodbye. Jake hung up the phone and looked at the stars. Southern California wasn't the best place to see stars because of the light pollution, but he could still see some. He thought of Sarah, of how she always said he was born to help people. He thought of Emma, of how she had said he was a hero. He thought of his 15 years of service, of the missions, of the teammates he had lost, of the lives he had saved. And he thought of Catherine Weber, now at home with the children, alive because he had been in the right place at the right time and had made the right choice. Jake put the Admiral's card in his wallet. He didn't know if he would call, but he knew he had made the right decision 8 months ago when he resigned. Emma needed him, and he needed her. And maybe, just maybe, there were still ways to make a difference without being halfway around the world from the person he loved most. He finished his beer, locked the house, and went to check on Emma before going to bed. She was sleeping on her side, her stuffed unicorn pressed against her chest, covered with her unicorn blanket. Jake kissed her forehead. "I love you, princess," he whispered. And for the first time in a long time, Jake Mitchell slept through the night without nightmares.